My name is Waihiga Mwaura. I am a news anchor and the special projects editor at Citizen TV. But there are a couple of things I also do away from my workplace that is part of my diversification. I'm going to try and say what I want to say in very little time so that I allow for questions, because I think that's usually the best part of any program. I'm sure you don't hear my voice for far too long. I think in terms of diversification, for me, that has been the story of my life. And I wish I could tell you that it was all intentional, but to be honest, it was not. It was not that I, in a sense, had a game plan from the very beginning. I just knew I was looking for personal purpose. I knew I was looking for a purpose that came with joy in the midst of my duties and satisfaction at the end of the day. And I guess my diversification journey was driven by the fact that I was a bit confused about what I wanted to do with my life. And that especially hit me, I remember, on my 25th birthday. So before that, I had gone to university. I'm grateful I had the opportunity to do so. And I'd studied a degree in computer science. But halfway through the course, I knew that is not what I wanted to do with my life. I remember going for an internship, and it was a pretty good internship. I'll be honest with you. My internship was in a nice office. I was paid an internship allowance, which is rare. And I think because it was an international NGO, I was paid in dollars, a few of them. But I actually had a bit of money in my pocket as an intern. So my internship experience was good, but it was an eye-opener that once you go back to school for your remaining 1 year, after that, you don't want to do this with your life. And so when I finished university, of course, I was not keen to pursue my career, but I also did not know what I wanted to do. And there's nothing worse than that. You know you don't want to do what you're doing right now, but you don't know where you want to go. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And that's literally where I was. And it dawned on me on my 25th birthday. By then, I had already worked in two places. I'd worked at a call center straight after campus. I applied for a job there, and they took me up as a call center agent, picking calls were from Americans or people in India, etc. And I did that for about a year. It was a job I enjoyed because by then I had started to discover that I loved communicating with people. There was something about it that brought me joy, and people on the other end would say that I was a good communicator. So I did that for about a year, but the pay wasn't good. It would pay us in installments. It would delay all the time. And so after a year, I left and I started working in a bank. Now, the bank was the real sort of Damascus moment for me, because it was my first exposure with real corporate life. And I did all sorts of duties. I was a customer service agent. I was a cashier and that sort of thing. But I knew as I was working there that this is not where I wanted to be. And I remember customers telling me, you're such a well-spoken young man. I think you can do more with your life than being here paying people money, because being a bank employee is more about your efficiency of handling duties rather than the role that I was in did not allow me to interact with customers the way I would have liked to, and a lot of customers could tell that I could do more in regards to that. So it was then that I celebrated my 25th birthday, and it was then that I told myself, even if I will have to quit my job. So I then quit the bank, not sure where I was going. And this was a very scary moment because I actually stayed out of employment, quote unquote, and out of having something productive to do for about a year as I pursued what I believed was what I enjoyed. I would be a moderator in church. And I remember when I started doing it, there's a pastor who'd come to tell me, you have such a good presence on the platform, on the pulpit. Why don't you think of getting into media? And for a long time, I ignored him. And this time I'm working in the bank. But one day, and I woke up and I thought to myself, while I'm still young, while I still have energy, and while I still have a home before I have to find my own place, can I try and follow this path? And I'm really trying to compress this story for you guys in the interest of time. But I leave the bank and I decide this pastor has been pestering me for so long. Let me give his suggestion a try. And sometimes career diversification might come from you being told by other people what they see about you that you yourself might not see. And this man actually saw that I had the potential to be of influence and to make a difference in the world of media. And so here's a gentleman who studied a bachelor's in computer science, who diversified even before his first job into other fields, trying to look for his purpose. And so diversification can come in many different ways, and I'll briefly break that down for you. But in my journey to get to where I am in the media, I have done many things. I have been an actor, as Maureen told you guys about. I did that for a couple of months. I thought I was the next Will Smith, but that clearly was a pipe dream. But with every experience in your diversification journey, you learn. You learn what you like, you learn what you don't like. And with the complexity of this world, many of you might be forced to diversify one way or the other. And I'll talk to you guys about that shortly. I've been an actor, I've been a sports journalist, I've been a moderator, I've worked in a bank, I've worked in a call center. I've actually tried to run a business for about a year as well. That was a journey and a half. Business is full time. They say that you start a business and you have a lot of free time, man. For the 1 year that we ran the business with my brother, that was a most hectic experience where clients were calling you 24/7. We were running a business that required 24/7 customer service, and that was crazy as well. But I'm grateful that what the diversification journey has done for me is that it's made me never afraid to try new things. And this is actually where I want to begin. I just want to tell you a little bit about diversification, and in the next 5 minutes or so, open it up to questions. The definition of diversification is a way to manage and minimize risks, whether it's in your investments, whether it's in your career. So the way you diversify in your investments, and that's why when you go to the NSE, a broker will tell you, buy the Safaricom shares, buy KCB shares, buy Absa shares, buy Kengen shares, is so that you diversify the risk. And someone would ask, how come we never think about that with our careers? So for your money, you put it in different places to ensure that if one stream collapses, you have a backup. But for our careers, and this is something I think we were taught by our parents, because our parents believed in one line. I don't know how many of you have a mother, a father, an uncle, an auntie, a relative who was a employee at Ministry of XYZ for 40 years. That was what they were taught. That was stability. But the world we live in is very different. So in managing your career, it is advised that you have different exposures to several industries and even different functions, so that in case something negative happens in your career, you're not caught out with a single specialization. And the thing about diversifying your career is the skills that it teaches you, because you can lose your job today. You can even lose access to a country where you're working. But if you've picked up a unique skill set, it will allow you to function wherever you are. I remember Bitange Demo, and he'd be great for this. This was a man who was an assistant minister for ICT in the Kibaki government, saying that I am a qualified university professor. Even if you kick me out of Kenya, I will be soon lecturing in New Zealand or in USA or that sort of thing, plus doing consultancies, plus being a public speaker. He has honed that skill. And so for him, being an assistant minister and then losing his job was not the end of his life. And I think anyone on this call who wants to be a politician, you better learn to career diversify, because politics has a 5 to 10 year shelf life. And if you're not ready to pick up your other skills, if you're ever kicked out of the political arena, then you are going to have a big problem. Now, when I was thinking about this topic yesterday, I thought of 3 different places in which we in Kenya are forced to diversify in one way or the other. One, very quickly, and if anyone's taking notes, you can take these notes. Some of us will be forced to diversify before our first job. And the truth of the matter is, it is hard to get employment right now. So imagine you're a business major, you're a computer science major, you're, whatever it is that you're studying, and you get to the workplace and you can't find a job in that field. What do? Do you get frustrated? Do you give up? And that's why I challenge university students whenever I speak to them to begin to analyze what their other skill sets are while they are in university, and to try and do something with them, because that could provide them with a lifeline as they wait for their first sort of job. Or if they never get that job, it could create them it could sort of boost them with a whole new business. And so if you're in campus doing business something, but you're an amazing writer, you need to start sending in your articles to various publications. You need to start blogging. You can even think of writing a small book that you sell. I know people who've survived a tough season with books that they wrote, and they sell them here and there, 100, 200, 300 shillings, and you can actually make a small income from that. If you're in college doing IT, but you're a great speaker, there's so much that you can do with that. And places like church provide a great platform for people to hone their skills, and who knows where it could take you. Me, that's where I started, and from there I've been able to speak in big platforms, both locally and internationally, as a result of a place like that where I was able to hone my skill. And so for me, there's a group here that will need to learn to diversify while in college. And I tell media students this all the time. As much as they've been great sort of reforms in terms of liberalization of the media in this country, we still have very few media houses that can employ you and have the sustainability to last 5-10 years. You know, many media houses will come up today, and within 3 years they shut down. And I tell media students, you need to start planning what it would take to run your own media establishment whilst you're still in college. You need to invest in skills like data journalism, because with that, it's easier for you to open up a small fact-checking company and apply for grants. And a lot of people are running media businesses off grants. You need to open a blog and build its following, because I know people who've quit mainstream media houses to run their blogs. One example is a colleague of mine called Makotani. He recently left one of the big media houses. He's running his own blog called swalanyeti.co.ke. And, you know, when I heard that, I was like, look at this man. You know, he's left what is considered stability to go into this field, but he's built it. And I sometimes ask myself, I wish I would have known this is what I was going to be doing when I was in campus. I would have opened a blog. I would have opened a Twitter page before guys knew what Twitter was. I would have diversified, and it would have made my bargaining position stronger when and if I do intend to join a media house. Let me move on very quickly. A second group will need to learn how to diversify in their career for promotion. I'll be honest, in many companies, they won't promote you automatically. You need to show them why they need to promote you. And part of that is when you become such an asset to a company that the threat of you leaving is so scary that they must find ways to keep you. And so it's amazing when you have an employee who has this that is on the contract. And I'm not saying that you should be misused also, you know, where you are the one doing 15 jobs at the office and none of them are even on your contract. But you're the guy who does this, you're the guy who does that. And one of the interesting things I discovered when I joined Citizen was I used to think that news anchors just read the news. You know, you just see them for that 1 hour that they're doing their bulletin and they go. But I remember when I joined Citizen, I noticed some of the news anchors would do other things as well. A few of them were very good reporters. And I would wonder, why do you bother reporting it? It seems so hard, and yet you have the ability to go on our screens and just deliver the news. But once I got in, I totally understood. They were diversifying. They were increasing their value within that company, making themselves even more relevant than ever before. I remember one who is now a very high-ranking government official who was a news anchor and a news director. So if a director was sick that day, it was very easy for her to ask her colleague to read the news and she would go and direct. So even if you're employed and you have no plan to leave and you're in a stable environment, please diversify within your field. It could save your career when retrenchment is happening, when there's downsizing, but also it will help you ease boredom so that you're not doing the same task over and over again. And number 3, very quickly, diversifying also allows you to think of what's next. When you are burnt out, when you are tired, what's the next thing that you are going to do? And it's very important. I'll tell you a personal example. When I was a sports journalist, and I did sports for about 7 years, and I know many of you may know me from that, particular part of my career, I had a deep interest in digital media and digital trends. I would attend seminars. I was very active on social media at a time when people thought social media was for kids. And I remember arguing with some of my colleagues who would say, "Ikitu ya Twitter na kutrend, ni ya watoto ama teenagers," and that sort of thing. But as I built that skill, people at the office began to recognize that this was a guy who was keen in that field, even if it wasn't on my contract and it wasn't something I did on a day-to-day basis. And I remember that when they were introducing a new show about digital trends, they actually considered me for it. And when I did that show, and I did it for only a few months, it actually allowed me to segue or to pivot away from what I was doing in sports and slowly towards general news, which is now what I am doing today. So my diversification, whether intentional or unintentional, actually unlocked a new season for me. And so whereas I had a very fulfilling time on the sports desk, the truth of the matter is, as human beings, we are called upon to grow from strength, from one opportunity to the other. When you stay, you stagnate and you plateau. But sometimes it calls for you to diversify for that next season to be unlocked. And that was powerful. That was, something that I think about till today. What happens if I had not taken a keen interest in this other field? Would I be where I am today? Would I have been unable to make this move into this other place? How do I wrap this up for you? Because I know our time is up. One of the lessons that I've learned about diversifying is about your career portfolio, okay? So they say that diversifying, the way you diversify your finances, the way you should diversify your career, right? But there are 4 ingredients that offer a well-balanced opportunity for you to earn, learn, and help others as you diversify. So let me give you these tips very quickly, and then we'll open it up to questions. I found online a personal guide as to how you can diversify. And the first step begins with, what is your personal purpose? And this is the chance I want you to take to really think. All 3, my goodness, there are 300 of you. Okay, wow. Well done, Centonomy. And I think for me, to the 300 of you, I want to challenge you just to listen to me keenly for the next minute or so, then I'll open it up to questions. What is your personal purpose? Your personal investment purpose is what guides the decisions you make, okay? So if you have goals in your investments, that is what will guide the decisions you make today, okay? So for your personal purpose, what are your goals in your personal purpose that will guide you to the decisions that you make today? And you do that by answering a series of questions. I'll give you a few, and you can come up with others on your own. And this really made me think when I discovered this. It's not my work, but I felt it's important I share with you. If you want to know what your personal purpose is, ask yourself this question. 100 years from now, 2031, when maybe it is your great-great-grandchildren that will be on this earth, how would you like to be remembered? And I asked myself that question yesterday, as I was preparing for this. How would I like to be remembered? Whatever answer or answers you come up with then determines the decisions that you make today. Do you want to be remembered as an expert in your field? Do you want to be remembered as someone who changed the lives of the people around them? Do you want to be remembered as an activist online who advocated for sort of greater public good? Sit down and write that, and it will help you think about your personal purpose. The second one, which is obvious, is, what am I passionate about? What keeps you up at night? Is it a problem in society? What makes you spend a lot of time on social media? I've seen women who spend a lot of time looking at sort of hair and fashion trends. And whilst it's easy to dismiss them as being vain and that sort of thing, what if you could make money from that? What if you genuinely enjoy beauty and everything that comes with it, and interior design and good photography? Could that help you in that particular regard? And finally, what are 2 projects recently that you are very excited about that made a difference? It could be a small project, even just supporting a relative, or it could be a big project, doing something in a community. What are 2 projects that you feel have made a difference for you in the last 2 years? Think about the big picture, and then use that to hone in on your life purpose. And your life purpose is very important, because all the career decisions you make after that are based off, is it driving me towards my life purpose or away from my life purpose? 4 things that you should think about in your career and how you invest in it as I wrap this up. 1, what is your primary income investment in your career? Is it your job? Is it your business, where the majority of your financial investment or income is earned? Invest in that. But then as you diversify, you need a secondary income investment, an optional alternative income that allows you to gain additional knowledge. So for me, if my primary income or investment is my work, my secondary income or investment is public speaking in forums like this. I do a lot of this. It is moderating of events and consultancies as well, where necessary. And you build this up. Nothing happens overnight. I've been working now for, I would say, almost 14 years. I don't have this yet sorted, Yet I know people who 4 years into their career, they have built this up. So for me, I'm still a work in progress. And so don't feel that you haven't started and you can't start. So what's your secondary income investment? Not everyone is destined to run a business. Not everyone will have a side hustle of, chickens in Kitengela, or I don't know, baking cakes. It could be speaking, it could be blogging. Whatever it is, it's something that you're passionate about. Number 3, what is your volunteer investment? Finding one or more ways of reaching out to your community in a way that is meaningful to you. And for me, it's helpful that my secondary income investment of moderating and public speaking is also my volunteer investment. I speak at children's homes, I speak at fundraisings, and I encourage and mentor a lot of young people, and that's my volunteer investment. And I'm actually working on building something sort of, formal around that as well. I'm in the plan of this year. I was really challenged to formalize that. And so that's something I'm thinking about. But the 4th thing, so I've told you what's your primary income investment, what's your secondary income investment, what's your volunteer investment, and finally, what's your lifelong learning investment? Mentorship, focused reading, and education. I am in the last stages of finishing my master's at Daystar University. It's been a long journey. That's a story for another day. But that is my investment in education. I am also taking short courses that I'm trying to balance with this other one as well, as I continue, sort of hope to improve and better myself. In terms of ideas for what you could do with your diversification, it could be a side hustle. It could be teaching, whether formal or informal. It could be public speaking. It could be writing books. It could be blogging. You know what? It could be so many things. Only you know what your interests are in. But the trick is to start somewhere. And the world that we live in, some say it's post-COVID. Some say we're still in the middle of COVID. Nothing is set in stone anymore. It's no longer the days of careers that would take you 40 years. We must all ask ourselves, if my world was to change today, what skills have I taken? What experience do I have for me to be able to apply, not just for one job, but for multiple jobs? I've run a digital marketing business in the past. I've been involved in many projects, and it's a result of really wanting to diversify and sort of use all the skills and talents that you have, but at the same time learn, maybe get an income, an extra income, and prepare yourself for the kind of world that we live in.